My name is Dakota Robinson. This is my wife, Sarah. Originally, we're both from Texas. I grew up halfway between Houston and Austin. Sarah grew up just a little ways south of San Antonio, and we now live here in central New Mexico. It's in a region that they call the high desert. It's a very rural community. See a lot of wildlife. We've got 3 dogs. All 3 of them love kids, especially the Australian Shepherd. I work on a ranch here in New Mexico, and Sarah runs her own small business from here at home.
We went to the same college, and I don't even know how many times we probably passed each other and never met. We had all the same friends, and somehow we didn't end up meeting for like 5 years after that. We met through a mutual friend, and it's been 5 years since we met now. Before we even started dating, we had a conversation about adoption and if he saw that in his future. For me, I was probably like 14 years old, 15, when the idea first struck me, and it was something that just stuck. Like, it was something that never went away. And I've seen a lot of people have their own adoption journeys and go through all of that since then. And it's never been like an if or a maybe. It's just been, that's just the natural next step for me.
You know, growing up, whenever I was rodeoing, a lot of the guys that I rodeoed with came from broken homes and, you know, just really kind of needed a place to be. They were using rodeo as a way to kind of escape that, because, you know, they could be gone from home a lot, and whenever they would, you know, we'd kind of be at a break in rodeos, it'd be like, well, whose house are we gonna go to? And it was always my house or my parents' house. And every guy that walked in, my parents would just like take them in and be like, hey, you know, let's feed everybody. You know, both showers are open. Boys, just throw your dirty clothes by the utility room. You know, we'll get them washed. Don't worry about it. I saw the way my parents were just willing to love a kid so, like, just unconditionally. And it didn't matter to them, you know, what their story was. They just, like, hey, it's safe here. It's a good place to be, and you're more than welcome to stay here as long as you want. And that got in my head, and I was like, you know, that'd be really cool to show that kind of love to someone. And I was like, you know, it'd be really, really neat to adopt. And that's just what I've always wanted to do.
Yeah, my family, our house was like that too. We were the place, like, my mom had a teen center for a little while. Like, kids could come after school and hang out and stay out of trouble. And we always had people at our house. We always had people spending the night. And I mean, like, sometimes for months on end, like, they would stay, or we would have, even one time we had a whole family stay with us for a while. And so that was just kind of something natural too. My mom has like a super big heart, and everybody was always family. As long as people are your people, that's what matters.
You know, I just get excited thinking about it. Yeah, I've seen like other guys, you know, cowboys or, you know, just guys at ranch and stuff, they have their kids with them, and you could just see those kids like taking everything in, and just like stuff that we take for granted, like, oh, I'm just gonna trot my horse over this hill. The kids are like, we're going on an adventure, you know, and just like, I can't wait to experience that like in a much more like personal way. Like, this is my kid. Like, I finally get to do all the stuff that I've seen all these other guys doing. And, you know, when we were growing up, my dad was like, he'd take us fishing, but it was never like, all right, let's go fishing. He's like, boys, we're going fishing. And just like the way he'd say it, you'd immediately just like, yeah.
He's a very animated person.
Yeah.
And so he's going to be such a good grandpa. He makes everything fun and like exciting. Like, he's
right.
There's never a dull moment with him. He's just, everything is elevated as high as it can go.
He has such a way of like talking to you and like, hey, so what's going on? And you can just talk free and easy about like maybe stuff you'd be nervous to kind of tell your dad, but it's not that big a deal because he makes it so easy to talk about. And, you know, I want to have that same relationship with our kids. I really just can't wait to just show my kids like what our lifestyle has to offer and teach them about horses, teach them about cows and just about being, straightforward with people and being honorable and just being a cowboy. There's a lot more to it than just the hat. Here in the springtime, you go to a Brandon, there are kids everywhere, and not a single one of them has a cell phone, and they're out there just having a blast with their buddies, and just, today we might be 10 years old, but we're cowboys, they're just a kick to watch. And, I just can't wait to have our own little person to do that with.
Like he said, like to little kids, the smallest things are big things or like super exciting. I think that I'm most excited to see them learn. Like when a kid is like seeing something new or grasping a concept or learning right from wrong even. It doesn't matter what. They're like a little sponge, and I love like seeing their wheels turn or like seeing things click or just seeing how excited they get over little things, like going on adventures or whatever. My mom was like the very like mom, like a kiss your boo-boo, snuggle you, pray if your tummy hurts, like, I don't know. So I'm looking forward to that aspect too.
When we first, I guess when we first brought up like our plan for adoption we started with our immediate families, obviously. But, we're sitting here like preparing for like, somebody's gonna pitch a fit about something, but not a single person was just like, oh, are you sure? Like, is this really what you want to do? They're like, really? That's awesome. And we're like, well, what were we even worried about?
Adoption's always been plan A. Whether we could or couldn't have children doesn't matter, but I hope that one day when our child or children are old enough to understand, they'll always know that they were adopted and where they came from and who their first mother was and everything like that. But I want them to understand that no matter what, at the end of the day, they can look back and say, my mom and dad wanted us. Hands down, we weren't second choice. We weren't plan B. We were always plan what A. They wanted.
I am very blessed to be employed in an industry where I don't dread going to work every day. I do what I get paid to do, what I would do for free in a heartbeat. I wasn't always a cowboy, but I feel like this is what God has called me to do, is just ride horses and take care of cattle, and I love every day of it, even when it's cold and I'm working on a water leak in a hole that's 3 foot in the ground and I'm muddy and freezing my butt off, or I'm fixing fence for the 12th time that the neighbor's bull has just flattened it. It's still just the best job ever. This is what I love to do, and if it's up to me, I'll never do anything different. Outside of that, I do like to write poetry. I love music. I could listen to all different kinds of music. It does not matter. We both do a lot of different creative stuff. Sarah writes short stories, and whatever our kid wants to be passionate about, creative about, I don't care what it is. If they're into it,
as long as it's something that makes them feel alive. I have a small business where I braid halters for horses and I do collars and leashes. That's what I've done, over the last 5 years. No matter where we've gone or what job I've had, I've done that on the side. But now I'm trying to kind of branch out into things that are like less labor intensive for me but still kind of fit in my brand. And outside of that, I play guitar. I paint a little bit. I draw, sketch a little bit. I love to read. I could read 30 books in a month if I had the time. Running a business from home, I think, is really handy because I'm my own boss. I make my own hours. If Dakota needs help moving some hay, or if he's got to pen some cows, or maybe nobody else is around and there's a stray, whatever it is, I can say, okay, let me finish this real quick and I'll be right there. Or if it's an actual emergency, then I can just say, okay, where you at? I'll be right there. Owning your own business really gives you a lot of flexibility to, make your own hours, say what you're gonna do that day. But I think when it comes to having kids, I can adjust my work schedule to whatever the needs of the child happen to be. And so I think that's really convenient. When my kids think back on their childhood, I want them to think, if I ever needed mom, she was available. I don't want them to be like, oh, she was always busy, or she was always on the computer, she was always on the phone, or she wasn't around. I want them to look back on their childhood and remember that I was available to them when they needed me to be, but I wasn't hovering.
In order to do a job, in order to live life, you have to have all the right tools. And I want our kids to live a good life, and it is up to us to give them the tools to be successful at that job. Should you choose us to be the parents of your child, we commit to love them unequivocally.
To instill in them the truths of a big God who loves them without bounds.
To teach them about love, trust, and how to follow their heart.
To be open and honest with them and to teach them to do the same.
To teach them to respect not only others but themselves.
To kiss their boo-boos, dry their tears.
To kiss their boo-boos and dry their tears.
To take them on adventures and always feed their sense of wonder.
To always honor and tell the story of their first mother, who loves them very much and who we hope will be a part of their life.